What's going on? So lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff going on. Um, on Saturday, I ran a marathon without any training, and I ran it with a buddy from the office who, was in a conversation with a bunch of people and said, "Hey, I can run a marathon," and they said no, and he said, "No, yeah, I can do it." So they made a bet, and they he ran a marathon, right? And I wanted to run it with him to kind of support him and say, "Hey, I believe you. I believe in you. Let's do this together." And so we did it together, and I never thought I could do that, like, ever. That's such a long way, and that's such a hard thing to do. And I think I've always kind of perceived myself as a person who's kind of lazy, a person who, does the way Jordan Peterson puts it. He says, "Do what's meaningful, not expedient." Right? I feel like I've always perceived myself as a person who does some expedient things, and so running a marathon was definitely difficult, and it was something I never saw myself doing. And I don't know. I think that, I think it just shows me, like, the power of a positive attitude does, like, because, the one thing, the only times that I was scared of not doing it, right, or the only times that I was scared of Morty not doing it was when I walked by him and I asked him, "Hey, what's up?" And his head was totally fucked up, right? And he was like, "I don't think I can do this," like, or like, "We're not even halfway," and when he got negative, it was like, okay, well, like, fuck it, we might not make this, and I saw that in him, and I was like, okay, I need to pull back and be even more positive, like, I don't know, but basically the idea that, hey, if you're helping someone else, you can do more than you thought you could, right? And, like, number two, if you just maintain a positive attitude, you can probably endure a lot of pain, and you can, exert yourself in ways that you didn't think you could, and you can fucking make it through. I think digging the hole over this summer, like, I dug a giant hole for a fire pit. I think that was harder than running the marathon. I was out in the hot sun for like 8 hours, and I guess that was the same both days. But, like, one, I was digging, and digging hurts every muscle in your back and everything. And when you're walking or running, like, it's really just, my shoulders did hurt a ton, but, like, it was mainly just confined to my legs, right? When you're digging, though, it's like, if you can throw your back out, and then every single shovelful hurts, and you still need to keep going. So I don't know. Digging sucked worse than running. This is gonna sound like I'm bragging, but, like, I think the thing that surprised me the most was, like, how doable it was. Like I had just built 26 miles up to this horrible nightmare. Even the idea of running 1 mile to me was like this crazy feat. A 10-mile run seemed crazy to me, and then we get to mile 12, and it's like, oh, this isn't bad. Just walk every 3 miles or so. Like, just do a recovery quarter mile or a recovery mile once every 3 miles, and you can run 15 miles no problem. And it's like, holy shit, I didn't know that, and so it was weird to just kind of break out of that story that I'd kind of ingrained into myself. When I was on the cross country team, I would always come in, like, late. I'd always be in the bottom of the pack. And, like, when I was growing up in my family, like, I was always the kid that wanted to stay inside and play video games because that's what I was interested in at the time. And I think other people perceived me as slow or lazy or behind the pack, and you internalize that, and I didn't realize how much of that was inside of me until, like, I did a thing that didn't go along with the story, right? I did this crazy thing, and then you have to wrap the story around it, and you realize, like, holy shit, this story is here and I didn't even know, you know? Like, that's so weird. That is such a weird thing to, like, it's just like, I think that there are all these things that I believe about myself that I don't even recognize that I believe. And I think that that's true with anybody. And, you know, that book that I was reading, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, you know, he talks about that in that book. He also the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talks about that. He talks about paradigms, right? He talks about basically the stories that we see ourselves and see other people, and how, you know, a lot of times we don't even recognize that those are the stories, you know, like he talks about a story with his son, and he says, you know, he perceived his son as a weak individual, you know, and he was on a baseball team, and he was so bad at baseball that, you know, he was being made fun of. So he was like, okay, I need to either support my son so that he can push back against the bullies, or I need to, you know, talk to the coach so that the bullies aren't mean to my son. And he's saying, okay, cool. Well, he has framed that situation in a way where there are 2 outcomes there, you know. He's framing his son as a victim, right? And he's choosing to see that. And he's reinforcing his son's ideas that his son is a victim, right? And as long as the dad recognizes that the son's not a victim, that's kind of just a story that, like, has been played out, then he can say, and when the son comes to the dad and says, hey, well, one of the kids on the team was bullying me today, or, you know, he was mean, or he did this mean thing to me, then the dad can say, well, did you do anything mean to him? Or, like, you know, well, that's okay. You're fine. Like, you're going to be okay. That's okay. You know, did you talk to him about stuff? You know, it's like, and it's like you don't want to abandon your kid, right? And, like, you know, make him feel like a victim by himself. But you don't want to support the idea that he is a victim and then he needs to be coddled, you know? It's like, no, you want him to, like, reframe the situation where he's not less. He's on the same plane as the other kids. Anyway, maybe that's horrible parenting advice. I don't know. But it just really resonated with me because I was on some baseball teams where I felt like I was bullied, and it played out in the way where it was like I thought I was a victim, and people hated me even more for that because it's like, you're not a fucking victim. Like, you're just as shitty as the rest of us, you know? So anyway, the stories that you tell yourself and that you don't even realize that you're telling yourself, they're really important, and they're not like these concrete things. You can change them. And sometimes it just takes supporting a friend. Sometimes it takes someone saying, hey, we can do this crazy thing together. And then you saying, okay, cool, let me help. Let me try to do that. To kind of jostle you out of that and then wrap other things into that story. So I thought that was cool. I just talked to my dad. I also have been doing this thing where I write things on the board. So over here, I don't know if you can see that, but basically, the idea that, you know, you're basically a sim in a game, right? You have certain stats that determine things about your life, right? And in order to maintain a certain level of, like, meaningfulness or happiness, you need to make sure that each one of these bars is filled up, right? So those bars are, hey, nutrition, eat well, you know, they're like, hey, go to sleep, right? Go to sleep and sleep well, right? I've kind of made one bar for all of those, and that's like base systems, right? So like nutrition and sleeping, I've kind of put in those. And, you know, laundry and making your bed, you know, those are kind of in my base systems category. I think I've pretty much rocked that category. Like, I'm pretty good at that. I go to bed relatively okay. I wake up at the same time. I wake up at 8. I know that's kind of late, but, like, it works for me. And that's okay for me. Right now I need to go grocery shopping, but anyway. What I am consistently struggling with, week after week after week, are 2 bars out of my bar graph. You know, one's financial. I'm not struggling there, which is good. One is fitness. I just ran a marathon, so I'm doing okay on the fitness bar for a little bit until I, you know, need to start going to the gym again. I put another bar up there. This is a new bar. It says creative, right? I've been making videos. I'm editing a video where, you know, I tell the story of the marathon that we ran together. So I'm good there. Family is a bar that I put on there because I thought that needed to be a priority in my life. So I put family on there. But the two bars that are not doing well is social and romantic. Because those are things that inherently involve like other people. Those are things that involve taking risk and putting yourself into unfamiliar situations and exposing yourself to failure and the judgment of others. And that is one of the hardest things that you can do in your life, right? So it's no surprise that moving to a new place and having those bars completely wiped out, and then having to it's no surprise to me that those are at the bottom. I had a long conversation with my dad about that social stuff, right? It's like, and basically what I realized is that like there's a bunch of things that I could be doing that I'm not doing because of lack of time, because everybody has a ton of time, and like they make excuses, and that's the reason why they have a lack of time. And it's because of lack of doing it. It's like I know I can go to meetup events and then make friends there, and then invite those friends to other plans that I make for myself, where I make a circle of friends and become a node in the network. I know I can do that, but I choose not to, right? I don't do that. So that's my fault. So that's the plan, right? The plan is, okay, go to these events where, you're going to meet strangers, and then find the strangers that you think are cool, get their phone number, and then text them and organize small activities, right? On Fridays, we're going to the bar, and then we're going to go to, the club afterwards, and we're going to go to this bar and this club, and I've just chosen these things arbitrarily. If you have another suggestion, let's do that. Sounds great. Green light there. I'd love to. Over the weekend, let's go do something outside, okay. My buddy Andy from work, one of the, closest people that I met here, which is sad because, like, we're not very close. But, he goes hiking all the time. He's been constantly asking me, hey, go check out this mountain. And it's like, okay, cool, I will go check out the mountain. Hey, Andy, you want to come with me? Or, hey, other guys, do you want to come with me? Let's go do this thing, I've met a couple people who, I believe could be long-term friends, but they're not going to be unless I take the action of, inviting them to things. So that's the plan. I'm going to try to go to at least 2 social things a week, and I'm going to then also have 2 things per week that I do where I invite other people. The other nice thing was that I was scared of having a very, very, very active social life because I was afraid of it taking away time and focus from me being able to build my own business so that I don't have to spend all my time working in a company for somebody else. I realized that I have so much downtime at my job that like I can do a lot of the repetitive business activities for my own business, and I have found a way to basically do them there. And if people there don't want me to do that, that's okay. But like nobody has told me not to, and when I bring up other activities and suggestions for things for me to work on at that company, they don't want me to. They don't want me to rock the boat. It's been made very clear to me multiple times that they want me to just do the things that they've told me to do, and those things only take a certain finite amount of time. So I'm going to fill my time with other things that I want to do personally for other projects on my own, which, maybe that's a really great fucking fast lane to get fired, but it's like, if I get fired, I'll go back home. I'll move back in with my parents, and I will build either my own company or I will work for a company that is closer to what I want to do. So, would it be the worst thing in the world? It might not be. I know that's really sad and dark, but like, I don't know. If they, see me working on, my online store and they say, hey, what the hell? You're supposed to be doing that. It's like, okay, if you have other work for me to do, give it to me. I'm sick of suggesting things and then having them shot down. So, I don't know. I want to retain some form of spine you know? And I think, whatever. Maybe that's a really horrible outlook, but that's just fucking whatever, man. I'm not perfect.